Most people never get taught how to believe in themselves, make good decisions, or handle pressure. That's what this show is about. My name's Lawrence. I'm a speaker and author who works with high school and college students. On this podcast, we talk about confidence, improving your decision making skills, and how young people can take control of their future. You'll hear real stories, honest conversations, and practical ideas that actually help. And if you're an educator, youth leader, or someone who works with students, this show will give you insights into what young people really are going through today. With that said, let's begin the episode you came here for. In order to have something different in life, you have to at least do something different, or more importantly, become someone different. And in today's episode, I want to really get into that because my previous episodes have often focused on this idea that we become someone different, we change our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, and life gets better, which is true. But in the process, you're going to go through points where there's a dip. There's going to be a pain of letting go. There's going to be moments where you might lose money, you might lose relationships, or a job, or whatever the case may be. And it can be hard to keep faith during those times. It can be hard to keep your eyes on the prize. It's a lot easier said than done. Currently, I'm going through that right now where I'm just, without going into details, increasing the amount of money I'm trying to make as well as various other business-related things are happening. And this isn't a complaint. This isn't me complaining or anything. It's simply me saying, hey, this is the situation I'm dealing with. So it can be hard for us to remember to just keep going when you feel tired, when you feel stressed, when you feel like things aren't working. Ironically, those are the times when it's about to start working. You have to go down before you go up. And I know that we all would like the idea of a perfect life, of a life without challenges, of a life where everything just goes magically right every time. But that would get kind of boring if you think about it. It would be kind of boring to not have to overcome anything. It would be boring to not have to figure something out. It would be boring. And it's in the challenging times, in the time when things are hard, that you start to realize that this is an opportunity for me to learn something here. This is an opportunity for me to bounce back. This is an opportunity for me to become stronger. This is an opportunity for me to be able to overcome this challenge in my life. And because I know how hard this can be, how hard it can be to remember to just keep going forward, I do offer one-on-one coaching if anyone's interested in that. The link is in the description. But back on subject. In the time when you feel like things aren't working, take a nap. I'm going to be honest with you. That's one thing that I love doing. I love taking naps. I also will sit back and I'll just reflect on how far I've come, on the fact that I've been through worse. And it sounds kind of weird when you put it like this, but saying that you've been through worse, at least for me, it helps to remind me that this isn't the worst thing I've ever been through. Because I've been through worse, and I've survived worse, and I've overcame worse, I can overcome this too. In the Bible, I can't remember which exact verse it is, but it is, this too shall pass. In other words, no matter how hard the situation is, this too shall pass. No matter how good the situation is, this too shall pass. Because it's really easy for us to encounter a hard situation, encounter a rejection, or a job loss, or a failed test, or whatever the case for you is. It's really easy for us to have one bad thing and then we hyper focus on that bad thing. But when it comes to the good things, when it comes to somebody liked your YouTube video, somebody said, hey, I like your hair, our mind can sometimes go, but yeah, that's just one person though. But even though it's only one person, it's the first of many. We give so much energy to what can go wrong and not enough energy to what can go right. And I'm not saying this as somebody who is different. I do this too. So when I say the phrase we, I'm talking about us. And it can feel challenging when you don't have the money, you don't have the car. It can feel challenging when you feel like you're not where you're quote unquote supposed to be, or where you want to be, or where you thought you would be. In these moments, one of the things I like to do is I like to just imagine living the life that I want. I like to imagine I'm on a plane, I'm flying across the country to go speak at a school. I like to imagine the money in my bank account. I like to imagine living in a beautiful apartment. I like to imagine these things. I like to imagine the feeling of not worrying about money. I like to imagine the feeling of success, the feeling of being very proud of myself. I like to imagine these things because you don't need to wait for the outside world to catch up to your inside world. You don't need to wait for other people to say that, good job, I'm proud of you, you did it. You need to rely on yourself. You need to go within and remember, why did I start? What's the reason behind this? Where am I going? Who am I? People forget their identity. People forget who they are, and because of that, they start to live their life as somebody that they're not. What I mean by that, because that's a lot to break down. What I mean by that is we all start out and we're these kids with like these ambitions and these goals and these, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be the president. This is what little kids say. You ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to go to the moon. And they mean it. But over time, things happen where people tell them, well, you know, you have to be realistic. And they don't mean it in a bad way. It's just they are telling them what they believe will work. Not good or bad. They're just saying, hey, becoming the president, it's possible, but you might want to have a backup plan. And over time, that little kid, they start to lose those hopes and ambitions and those dreams and those, well, I can't because of this. Instead of thinking about, how can I, despite this circumstance, despite the fact that you might be paralyzed from the neck down, how can I be an artist? There is a guy, his name is Henry Salas. He's an artist who holds pens in his mouth and he draws like that. How can I become an Olympic swimmer if I don't have arms and legs? I can't remember his name, but there is a Olympic gold medalist swimmer who does not have arms and legs. Sorry about that. That was my alarm. But to make it very obvious for you, this episode, what I'm really getting at is, despite how hard things may be in this moment, despite the challenges you may face, despite the obstacles in your path, this too shall pass. I don't know when it's going to pass. I don't know how it's going to pass, but I know it will. And that's something that I believe we all need to remind ourselves of. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to know the when, where, how, what, why. You don't need to know all that. You just need to remember, this too shall pass. Despite how hard it may be, this too shall pass. And that's easy to say, hard to remember. Because when I think about people who are in like medical situations, they're dealing with like severe poverty, they're dealing with job loss, failing high school, homelessness, all these things. When I think about that, it's easy to say, hard to remember, because in those situations, that's some real painful stuff. And if you're somebody who that's your situation and you're listening to this, obviously, if possible, find some services like a shelter or a soup kitchen or anything like that. Because thankfully, I've never been in a situation like that, but I'm just saying this in hopes that it might help you to think of some ideas of what can I do. Maybe there's like a shelter or a soup kitchen, or you could go on Google at like a free library and look up resources. Maybe there's a church or something. Whatever your situation allows, remember, this too shall pass, and with enough time, focus, and remembering that you don't need to know how it's going to work, but you know that somehow, some way it will, things get better one day at a time. This too shall pass. Have a wonderful, blessed day.